In pursuit of light in the dark, the questions thrown by Schiller's The Robbers. Dear readers, we encounter countless questions throughout our lives. Sometimes we rage at injustice, sometimes we wrestle with the complex choices of life, and are even startled by the profound shadows within human nature. These struggles are not exclusive to us today. Writers centuries ago wrestled with the same questions, and within their works we can find timeless insights that transcend eras. Today, I invite you to explore a dramatic work by one of Germany's literary giants and a pioneer of the Sturm und Drang era, Friedrich von Schiller, his early play, Die Räuber, The Robbers. This classic might seem unfamiliar to you. You may think classical literature is difficult, boring, and irrelevant to your life. However, I dare to claim that The Robbers is not a story hidden behind barriers of knowledge or culture. Instead, it vividly portrays the raw emotions of anger, destructive desires, and a fierce longing for justice that anyone who is human can deeply relate to. Like a passionate film, it overwhelms us and poses profound questions. So, please set aside any preconceptions and leap boldly into this provocative drama. 1. The dramatic plot of The Robbers' tragedy among brothers and the corruption of justice. The Robbers is a tragic tale centered around the Mohr family, an old aristocratic lineage in Germany. The protagonists are two brothers, Karl Mohr and Franz Mohr. Karl, the elder brother, is upright, passionate, and possesses a soul that cannot tolerate injustice, though he occasionally acts impulsively. In contrast, Franz, the younger brother, is cold, cunning, and willing to commit any atrocity to satisfy his desires. The story begins with Franz's malicious schemes. He envies his beloved elder brother Karl, who is favored by their father, the Count of Mohr. Franz harbors ambitions to monopolize the family inheritance. He sends subordinates to falsely accuse Karl of wasting tuition money, engaging in reckless behavior, and participating in crimes. Franz deceives their father with this lie, leading to Karl being disowned and stripped of his inheritance. Karl, who longed to return to his hometown to see his father and beloved Amalia, is devastated to learn of his disownment. Overcome by betrayal and despair, he erupts in anger against society's injustices and hypocrisy, deciding to become a leader of bandits. He gathers like-minded young men to form a bandit gang, vowing to punish corrupt aristocrats and greedy authorities by achieving social justice. At first, they steal from the unjust and help the poor, but their methods gradually turn into violent and cruel acts of revenge. Meanwhile, Franz ruthlessly seizes all power in the family. He imprisons his father and torments him emotionally, while persistently pressuring Amalia, the woman he loves. Under Franz's tyranny, the Mohr family descends into suffering and fear. As time passes, Karl's gang becomes increasingly extreme in their violence, and Karl himself wrestles with deep internal conflict between his dreams of justice and the brutal reality of his actions. He begins to doubt whether his actions are truly just and if he is genuinely achieving justice. Eventually, he returns to his hometown to learn of his father and Amalia. He witnesses Franz's atrocities and is shocked. The story concludes with dramatic twists and a tragic ending. Franz, terrified when his crimes are exposed, meets a miserable end. However, Karl is also forced to confront the crimes he has committed and their consequences, ultimately making an irreversible tragic choice. The tragic death of Amalia and the final moments of his father leave Karl with an unbearable sense of guilt and despair. In the end, he cannot find the meaning to continue living and gives himself up to a farmer in exchange for his bounty. This was Karl's final act of atonement before leaving the world behind. The Robbers is not a simple tale of good triumphing over evil. Instead, it serves as a shocking mirror revealing how easily the pursuit of justice can lead humanity down the path of violence and destruction, and how vengeance and desires can lead to ruin. 2. The implications of the Robbers' questions that transcend time. Let us now examine the significance of this ancient story for us today. You may not need knowledge or education to understand the questions it raises, issues that constantly appear in the heart of our lives. 2.1. Justice and revenge, the ambiguous line. Karl Moore initially sought to implement justice against societal injustices. He aimed to punish corrupt individuals and help the weak. However, his justice gradually transformed into personal vengeance and anger. Violent methods tainted his noble intentions, eventually leading him down the path of murder and destruction. In our lives, we often feel anger toward injustice in news stories or personal experiences, thinking that despicable person must be punished. Yet this work asks, what is true justice? Is it right to punish injustice through violence? What are the consequences when vengeance is wrapped in the name of justice? It challenges us to consider how our anger at injustice can be transformed into constructive forces for a better society, rather than destructive revenge. This ethical dilemma is faced not only in personal conflicts but also in broader social movements. 2.2. The dual nature of human beings' coexistence of good and evil. Karl once harbored noble ideals but ultimately became a cruel bandit leader due to pressure and inner rage. Franz, who appears villainous from the start, may also act out of a twisted desire for social recognition and love. His evil stem from both innate malice and deep-seated emotional needs. In our lives, we rarely meet people who are purely good or purely evil. Good and evil coexist within us. A small lie can grow into a great falsehood, and one compromise can lead us down an irreversible abyss. Rather than asking the philosophical question, are humans inherently good or evil? This work prompts us to reflect deeply on the conditions and choices that lead people to act good or evil. In moments of weakness, temptation, or anger, we may discover reflections of Karl and Franz within ourselves. 2.3. Freedom and constraint, and true liberation. Karl yearned to escape the oppression and hypocrisy of society, declaring himself free from laws and order to implement his own justice. However, his freedom ultimately led to a greater constraint, one bound by guilt and the consequences of his destructive actions. Franz, too, sought freedom through possession and domination, but his inner world was trapped in perpetual anxiety and fear. We all desire freedom in various forms, economic, temporal, or freedom from others' judgment. But what is true freedom? This work emphasizes that as important as liberation from external oppression is, true freedom also requires inner moral restraint and conscience. Unrestrained freedom can lead to destruction, while genuine freedom is only possible through responsibility and ethical reflection. 2.4. The weight of choices and responsibility. Every character in The Robbers makes choices that lead to irreversible consequences. Karl's choice to become a bandit, Franz's betrayal of his brother and abuse of their father, and even Amalia's unwavering devotion to Karl, all these decisions carry their own responsibilities and costs. In our lives, we make countless choices every day: which profession to choose, whom to love, what to say, and what to do. Even seemingly small decisions accumulate to shape our lives and often impact others profoundly. This work asks us, what choices am I making in this moment, and how prepared am I to bear the consequences? It reminds us of the importance of deep reflection and responsibility for our actions. 2.5. Social criticism and the role of the individual. When Schiller wrote The Robbers in the late 18th century, Europe was undergoing dramatic change. Feudal contradictions and aristocratic corruption were rampant, and the fire of the French Revolution was about to ignite. This work strongly criticizes how social injustice and inequality can lead individuals to ruin. Karl's fall is not solely the result of personal choices but is also influenced by the societal environment that made his downfall inevitable. What about our society today? We still face various forms of social problems, such as power abuses, unfair competition, and discrimination against the vulnerable. This work encourages us to remain aware of these issues and to reflect on what voice we can raise and what actions we can take as individuals. It warns that even those with good intentions can despair or fall if they are trapped in an unjust society, while also prompting us to consider our individual responsibilities and roles in building a better society. 3. Why read The Robbers now? The power of reading. By now, you may have begun to sense why this somewhat unfamiliar classical drama is important not just for knowledge and culture, but for all of us. I firmly believe this work will offer you profound meaning in life. 3.1. Deep understanding of human nature. Through dramatic events and vivid characters, The Robbers simultaneously explores the darkest and brightest parts of the human psyche. As we empathize with the struggles and conflicts of the characters, their emotions stimulate our own, broadening our understanding of what it means to be human. This is essential not only for expanding academic knowledge but also for developing the wisdom to navigate life and the empathy to understand others. 3.2. Cultivation of critical thinking. This work constantly asks readers, what is right or wrong? Does Karl's behavior truly represent justice? What are the origins of Franz's evil? It does not offer easy answers, instead encouraging readers to think and judge for themselves. This process stimulates our minds and fosters critical thinking by enabling us to approach complex issues from multiple perspectives. 3.3. Emotional liberation and catharsis. The Robbers is a work filled with intense emotions. The rage of Karl, the greed of Franz, and the sorrow of Amalia all deeply move the reader, creating a powerful sense of immersion. Experiencing such strong emotions through literature can provide a kind of catharsis, helping us release stress and repressed feelings. It is akin to shedding tears or laughing with characters in a movie or drama. 3.4. Expansion of language and expression. Reading classical works enriches our vocabulary and exposes us to diverse sentence structures and expressions. While it may initially feel challenging and unfamiliar, gradually becoming accustomed to these linguistic patterns enhances our ability to think deeply and express our thoughts clearly. This is one of the most fundamental foundations for building knowledge and culture. 3.5. Exploration of timeless universal values. While The Robbers is set in 18th century Germany, its themes, justice, revenge, freedom, human nature, and ethical choices, transcend time and universally apply to all humanity. Exploring these timeless values deepens our understanding of the society and world we live in and helps us establish our own values. 4. Reading the beginning of a grand adventure. Dear readers, knowledge and culture are not the exclusive domain of any particular class. They are open to all who continuously ask questions, seek, and strive to understand the world and themselves. Reading is one of the most powerful and beautiful keys to opening this door. Schiller's The Robbers is not merely a difficult classical work. It is the passionate heartbeat of a young man who lost his way while fighting against life's injustices and a mirror reflecting the depths of human nature. This story will provoke questions like, what choices will I make? And in what kind of world do I want to live? Awakening seeds of thought and reflection that have long slept within you. While reading might seem like a quiet, solitary act, it is in fact one of the greatest adventures. Through books, we indirectly experience the lives of people in other times, places, and circumstances, broadening our worldviews and expanding our capacities for understanding. It may initially feel a bit challenging, but what matters most is not necessarily reading the entire work, but what the story resonates within your heart and what questions it raises. Do not fear, dear readers. By reading The Robbers, you will not only encounter an old story but also confront profound questions of human existence, reflect on yourself, and gain a new lens to understand the world. I strongly encourage you to begin this magnificent adventure right now. May the light of literature illuminate your life, offering rich and profound moments of thought.